So today is another event where there's going to be protests all over the country. And yet again, these phony influencer class left-wing media folks are not covering it. The same people who covered every single Trump rally, right? Somehow they have something better to do apparently than to cover these major protests. Now, you listen to people like Adam Mockler, Luke Beasley, David Pakman, Destiny, I can't even think of, the Young Turks, right? The list goes on and on. Ring of Fire. These people every day telling us about how the democracy is at risk and, the dictatorship and this is a 5-alarm fire and blah, 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 blah. And yet Status Quo is one of the few of those channels that actually cover these events. Again, they will travel across the country to cover a Trump rally. Go to Trump rallies and go on and interviewing, Trump voters or whatever it is. But in this moment, where supposedly this is, existential crisis, where are they, right? Multiple of them mentioned, I had something come up or I had something to do. These guys are very wealthy, right? You got over 1 million subscribers and you are progressive media, left-wing media. There is absolutely no excuse in this moment to, on one hand, be making money from putting out videos talking about how, oh my goodness, our country's going to fall, blah, blah, blah. But again, the biggest protest of the year, and you are nowhere to be found. Even if you had something to do, that happens. You're moving, you something going on in your family, whatever it is. You have over 1 million subscribers. You guys have production teams. You are making a lot of money while your audience is struggling to pay the rent, pay the mortgage, to pay for groceries, pay for gas. You guys are living a life of luxury with your 1 million+ subscribers. You have enough money to hire people to go to these events and to cover them live. But instead, you choose to cover Trump rallies, right? That is to show what they're really about. Now, I personally do not have time to go to this event, right? I could easily make an excuse. I am dealing with a serious crisis right now in my life financially, and taking the time out to come out here to this protest is time that I don't really have. I didn't even feel well this morning when I left. I think that's just, I didn't drink enough water before I left. I've been inactive for a little while, but I came out anyway. I had to sit down for a while and, to drink some water and get myself together, but I came out here. I'm not making any money doing this, and I don't have time to do it, but I'm here. There's no excuse why David Pakman, Luke Beasley, all these guys, Young Turks, why they're not covering these events. Because you know what? Again, they will fly across the country to go to a Trump rally when these events are happening in every state. So that means there's probably multiple events happening in their states, but yet they don't have time, apparently, to cover something. So that's to tell you, not that they're lying about how serious things are, because they are very serious, but that they don't care. They are part of the influencer class. This is all about clicks. All the complaints that they have about mainstream media. Mainstream media bad, mainstream media this, and they didn't cover Bernie Sanders. Well, you know what? Just like how mainstream media didn't cover the big rallies the last time, right, these protests, so did these same left-wing folks, these progressive media folks, socialist, communist, revolutionary Blackout Network. Where were they? Right, and that's the thing. It's across the board. It's not even to say it's the liberals that aren't doing it. Liberal media didn't cover it. Progressive media didn't cover it. Socialist media didn't cover it. Communist media didn't cover it. All these parasites, these influencer class people, all they care about is clicks. All they care about is money. They are not in it with us. We're the ones that have to worry about how we're going to pay our rent, how we're going to survive, how we're going to pay for gas. We got to worry about healthcare. We're the ones that are going to suffer because of the consequences of what's happening right now. These people can stream their videos from anywhere. The worse things get, the more money they make. The fact that Trump actually won was great for business. They even admit it. Dave Pakman admits it. This is great. Their channels are blowing up right now. They're getting a lot of subscribers, a lot of money. They're not worried about healthcare. They're not worried about paying the rent. They're not worried about paying the mortgage. They're not in it with us, right? They pretend to be, but they're not in it with us. They're not serious actors. They are entertainers. It's all about the clicks, and it is absolutely unacceptable that, you know, they say all this stuff online, but then when it comes down to it, they're nowhere to be found. I think I gave this analogy on my channel before where I talked about, you know, imagine ESPN being too busy to cover the Super Bowl, right? How are you a political channel, and in this historic moment, you are nowhere to be found? And there's no excuse. You're somebody like David Pakman. You could get a smaller content creator. Just like this guy is able to go on vacation, right? He's at that level where he can go on vacation, and yet he still has content coming out. Why? He has a team of people. He'll bring in another YouTuber that'll come and, you know, will be on his show. He did it with I believe Luke Boosley back in the day, right? So they can do this. They have the resources. They have the money. They have the ability. But you know what they're going to do? Unlike Status Quo, right? And this is not sponsored by Status Quo. Unlike Status Quo, they're going to show up on Monday, right? They're going to show up on Tuesday, and after the fact, they're going to post videos and try to get some views. Oh, look at these big protests that happened in New York City. But where were they? Nowhere to be found. So beyond that, I also wanted to talk about. I came to this event. This is one of the protests, hands-off protests, and I was talking to a lot of the people who came to this event and trying to get their opinions about media in terms of what they're watching. Now, I wasn't really surprised to find out that a lot of these guys are basically MSNBC. So this is an MSNBC and Pod Save America type crowd. Now, you do have some DSA people here who are listening to some a little bit more serious sources. Many of them I didn't actually know about. It seems that they're more listening to or actually reading, you know, people that have these Substacks and things like that. And I think that that's actually some good journalism there, because I think when you're in that medium of writing an article, I think it's you don't have the incentive for the sensationalism as much as you do in media. If I'm doing videos, right, and that's how you're making money, you want to be like, oh, look what Trump did, and you know, like Brian Tyler Cohen every day, breaking, Trump defies whatever, and then you get online and you pretend like you care, and like, this is an existential threat, and this is a fire-alarm fire, and blah 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 blah, and you put some crazy title and some crazy thumbnail, and you get your clicks. But to me, if you're writing an article, you know, if I'm gonna sit down and read your article, I don't know. It's not as sensational a medium. So I actually wonder if there's some pretty good sources in print as opposed to in video, because we have a lot of garbage in our video sources. But you know, I had knows a Midas Touch person there as well. It is also a lot of older people that were here, and from me talking to them, for the most part, they seem to be pretty sensible, pretty understanding of what's happening. You know, if I were a right winger, I'm sure I could have easily made a video making these people look like a bunch of fools, because certainly there's people here who don't really know what's going on. They're just following along with the crowd. And in fact, if you're watching MSNBC, you know, you understand a lot of the dangers of what's happening right now, but there's also huge blind spots as well, which I think a lot of these people are going to have a lot of blind spots. But for the most part, I think they were pretty knowledgeable and had in terms of them explaining like why they're here and what's going on in the country, I think it was pretty reasonable, pretty logical. They do all understand for the most part how serious things are, and they feel the need, like myself, to actually do something in this moment, as opposed to just sitting on the couch online tweeting and on Twitter, you know, that kind of thing. These are real people out here in real life taking time, and I spoke to some other people, they were just like me, they don't have the time, right? They made the time, they made the sacrifice to be out here, right? But yet these very wealthy content creators who got wealthy off of us, we the people, don't have time to cover this, right? They're frauds, they're fakes. They are the same thing that they talk about in mainstream media. Mainstream media is so bad. Why? Because it's for profit is the problem. It's not about mainstream or independent. It's about for profit. If your focus is on profit, like that's, you're doing this for a living, you're incentivized to do what maximizes the profit, right? So decisions of like what events you're going to cover and what events you're not going to cover are going to be guided by what's going to get you clicks. Going to a Trump rally and showing a bunch of crazy Trump voters or whatever, that's entertainment. That's going to get you clicks. So maybe you prioritize that over covering an event like this.
People at this park.
Yeah.
People at this park.
Yeah.
You know what happened at it?
I have to ask about your sign. Adieu.
Adieu process.
Process. Yeah. Adieu, adieu.
Adieu. That's like, is it French?
French for goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye due process.
Okay. All right. Oh, got it. Okay. All right.
They're walking up now.
So there were two events today. 1 second. So there were two events today. One of them was the hands-off protest that a lot of people came out. There was a lot of support from the community. People, when they're driving by, they would be, blowing their horns and stuff like that. We did, and like I said, I think I mentioned before, DSA was out. And regardless of what you think about these people, I'm sure I have some critiques of these folks like the DSA groups, and I forgot the other one. There's another one called For the Many or something like that. I'm sure I definitely have some critiques of them. But to their credit, these folks exist in the real world, right? They are, I don't know if I'm getting a lot of wind here. They are out here in the community. They are organizing, they're door knocking. And this stuff is really, really serious for them because they are in it. Just like how they're in it with me, they're in it with you, right? The stuff that the government is doing right now is directly affecting them. I spoke to some people at the event today, and they're working class people, right? They're not making a lot of money, right? So I'm pretty sure they have a lot of financial challenges. So, the nonsense happening now has a direct impact on them. It does not for a lot of these folks in independent media, a lot of these folks in progressive media, right? Again, these guys are wealthy, right? You have somebody like Kyle, I almost said Kyle Rittenhouse, Kalinske. I mean, I think he himself said he's making like, I don't know if he had high six figures or something like that. This guy's very, very wealthy. And then he's married to a woman who is also very wealthy. I'm sure Breaking Point is making a lot of money. So, they're not going to be in it to the same degree, right? I'm not trying to say that they're bad people necessarily. I'm just saying they don't have a skin in the game as much as we do, all right? And I think that affects what they prioritize. Who's good independent media? Who's good independent media?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Do you have any recommendations?
Who do you listen to?
I mean, I like Rachel Maddow.
Okay, a lot of MSNBC people were there, I think, today. Any independent guys though, or just corporate?
I don't know. I'm not. I'm asking you. What's?
Well, I don't find that there's any single good source. I think that you need to have a lot of variety. Right. So there's good stuff on MSNBC, but there's also a lot of bad stuff as well. It's very partisan. Yeah. Breaking Points is a good source, but they also have their issues as well. So I would just try to find like a bunch of different sources rather than just one.
Yeah, no,
And be careful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I
All
got
right.
rid of my cable, so I'm just scrolling the internet, watching YouTube.
Yeah, it's scary. I think
They say PBS is more.
You-
Neutral.
well, yeah, that's also good as well. I would say check out groundnews.com. Groundnews.com. Why? Because that's not as a source like, hey, you're gonna get your news from them, but they're gonna guide you in terms of what to watch. They tell you about the partisan lean of different programs, so you can know and like who's funding them and things like that. So if you're looking for news sources, you can go to them and evaluate for yourself. So check them out.
Groundnews.
Yeah,
Okay,
groundnews.com.
thank you.
All right, enjoy your day.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a little bit complicated to pick a good source of news. That was an interesting thing because I spoke to some people today, and I was questioning them about what their sources of media was, and then they would ask me back like what are my recommendations, and I'm like the media critic guy, so I felt bad. Like I don't know. I feel like maybe 8 months ago I would have had some better responses for them, but things have gotten so bad. Like Breaking Points, I was a big advocate of them for a while. I still think they have a good value, especially like now. Some of the coverage has been pretty good, but you look at how they covered the 2024 election, especially the DNC convention and things like that. Just didn't really do that good of a job in my view. So they made me start to think a little bit about, what do I recommend people listening to now? Like, what would I say now? I'm the guy watching all the media, the so-called media critic, and I don't have an easy answer, man, because like I told someone earlier, the way that I get better in touch with reality is that I watch so much. I'm watching anywhere from far left to far right and everything in between, independent and corporate. So everyone is, giving you a little part of reality. No one's giving you the full picture. So by the fact that I'm watching so much, I'm able to fill in, many, many gaps that most people won't have because they're in one echo chamber or the other. But like I said to them earlier, that's not acceptable. Like the idea that a regular person has to spend that amount of time basically doing like research. I mean, people have lives, they have work to go to, they shouldn't have to spend that amount of time and effort just to kind of know what's going on in the country. But unfortunately, I can't name like one source, hey, watch these guys and, they're pretty good or whatever. So I think what I'll do, I'll spend some time and I'll think about maybe two or three sources that give a good variety. None of them are perfect. None of them are covering everything. But if you're watching these three sources, if that's all you knew about what's happening in the world, you would be decently informed. Off the top of my head, I might say something like Breaking Points, ABC News. Who's the third one? Who's the third one? Complimentary to that list. Would I say a Kyle Kulinski or a Majority Report? I'm not sure on that one. I'm on the fence. I gotta take a look at their channels again and see. But I would say it would be something like that. Definitely you want some representation from mainstream media, contrary to the narrative that you get from independent media about how bad they are. They are, ABC News covers a lot of stuff, right? They cover much more than like a Breaking Points would. Breaking Points is going to focus on what they cover. Now, there's certainly gaps in what ABC covers. Like, for example, when Bernie was doing his rallies, I guess back in 2016 or whatever. I assume ABC News is probably not giving him a lot of coverage. So in that moment, if one of the three you were listening to was Kyle Kalinske or Majority Report, then you'd get a little, that gap would be filled. So I think that might be a solid. Like if you're, and tell me what your comments are. How do you feel about that? If someone is watching just ABC News, Kyle Kalinske, or Majority Report, and Breaking Points, how well informed do you think they are about what's happening in the country? Anyway, it is hot. I'm tired. I need to get home. So, on that note, this is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Now, we're going to see who is going to actually cover these events today live. I went on my subscription tab to see who was live that I was subscribed to, and I didn't see anybody. I think Destiny's doing some like chilling stream. Vosh might be live doing some like random stream as well. But all the big players, I didn't see Luke Beasley. I didn't see David Pakman live. None of these clowns. They are, enjoying the weather, hanging out, They're basically missing in action once again because they don't really care about any of this stuff. It's all just content.
I checked on Citizens app and I was like,